Welcome back to episode 6 of the Marple Journal Podcast with me, your host, Sophie Cook. This is a show all about the amazing people and businesses that we have in our local area. Thank you so much for tuning in if you're listening or watching. Today we have Karen Webber in the studio, in Cheshire Podcast Studio, feel-good marketing coach and just an all-round lovely lady. Welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me. It's lovely to be here.
Thank you for being here. We finally got the date secured. We got in here. So for everyone listening or watching, some people might know who you are, but if not, could you just introduce yourself and what you do?
Sure. My business is called Goodness Marketing, and I say that I rescue good people from bad marketing because there's a lot of bad marketing out there. So I help small businesses do marketing that feels good, does good, and gets good results. I've been doing it for about 8 years. It's my 8th business birthday coming up, and I absolutely love it. I work with some local businesses all the way up to a national charity. So my work is really varied and I have a lot of fun working with really cool people.
Amazing. And how did it all start? Like, what's the journey there?
So I am originally from South Africa and came here 21 years ago, a long time ago, and worked in London in a marketing agency, eventually came to the Manchester office, worked here in marketing, became the marketing director for the marketing agency, and at the same time I had 2 small children, and the 2 lives weren't entirely compatible, both from a logistical point of view, and I felt that my values were quite at odds with a lot of the marketing I was expected to do. Kind of mainstream marketing that I didn't agree with. And for a long time, I was like, oh, what if I started my own business? But, I had like a 1-year-old at the time and a 6-year-old. So it was a lot, but I sort of gently shuffled out of employment and then started Goodness Marketing back in 2017. And it's really evolved. I kind of started thinking, oh, I'll do some freelance work, help businesses with their marketing, but it's really evolved with, I think, the marketing industry. In the beginning, it felt really weird to be this voice that said, I don't want to do marketing that everybody else does. And I thought I was the only person saying it. But the more I talked about this other way that I hoped was possible, the more I found other people who thought the same thing. I was asked to become involved with an organization called The Ethical Move, which is the global movement for ethical marketing. And through that, I realized there are so many more of us across the world who think that marketing can be a force for good in the world. I think marketing has a really bad reputation. I think can definitely be a force for evil. And I think in a capitalist society, marketing is often this thing that is used to get people to buy more things that they don't need, they don't want, that takes people's choice away through psychological manipulation and is used as a tool to, keep the supply chain destitute. The lower down you go or the further back you go in the supply chain. So I really think marketing can be a force for good. And it was this kind of driving thing in me that made me not want to do my old job alongside wanting a more flexible life with children. And also thinking about my legacy in the world and the kind of world I was being a part of and building for my children. So that's what made me kind of shuffle out of employment. Lots of people jump and go, I quit, like Jerry Maguire style, who's coming with me? Whereas I was like, I'm not sure.
I'm just going to do this slowly.
Exactly. And I did. And I thought for a while, I'll go down to 4 days a week in my marketing director job. And on a Wednesday, when I have my 1-year-old, I'll also build like a freelance empire. Didn't work. But for about 8 months, I did have some freelance clients as well as, juggling everything else. And then finally, I kind of took the plunge. I'm so grateful. I'm so happy I did.
Wow, that is a lot. I'm like, there's so much to unpack. Let's maybe circle back then to you moving from South Africa, because that's a huge thing. Can we dive into that? What made you move? What kept you here? Let's start with that.
The answer to both of that is a boy.
Oh, it's always a boy.
So split up from a boyfriend back in South Africa and always wanted to travel. So I thought, I'm leaving the country. I'm leaving you and I'm leaving the country. So I did. And back in the day, so this was mid 2000s, South Africans could still get a visa to come and work and travel for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I thought I would do that. I would see the world, moved to London, had a brilliant time, lived in shared houses, went on trips to Europe, worked in interesting jobs, and then met a boy, met my husband, who is now my husband, Chris, met him at work. So we worked together, very romantic. And then obviously I was only here for 2 years, so I had to apply for a work permit, which my old employer did. And then I was able to come back. So yeah, it was a bit of very adventurous, did loads of things. Definitely didn't think I would end up living here. It wasn't at all on the cards. But then I met Chris and that changed everything.
Yeah. And then did, I guess, like London become home rather than, because that seems like such a difficult thing, meeting someone here when you're not thinking I'm going to stay here, and then having to kind of pack up your life. Or were you happy to move? Was it?
I was really happy to move.
Yeah.
Not like, I'm really close to my family.
Yeah.
We're a very close family, but I met Chris and I knew he was the one, and it was just this big thing for both of us. So that felt easy. Saying that, I always thought once we had kids, I'll want to move back because our family are so close.
Right.
And because I loved my upbringing in South Africa. It's a complicated country, but I had a wonderful time, and I never thought I would bring my kids up away from South Africa. As it turned out, we evolve as people. I think compared to South Africa, here my kids have far more opportunities. Life is easier, and we do go back, we do go visit. But yeah, it wasn't like a big decision. I've got friends who moved to other countries, who properly emigrated. For me, it was maybe a bit like moving into my business, more of an organic, slow process rather than one big decision. And yeah, Chris and I just knew early on that we were going to be forever. And then we moved together to Manchester with our work. So we relocated with the agency who had an office up here, and then built our life in Manchester, and then gradually moved out South Manchester, and then ended up in Marple. And we've been here now for a long time, 13 years, something like 12, 13 years.
Amazing. So I guess then looking at kind of building a business, being an immigrant, in the UK, how was that process? How did you find that?
Well, I think as a white immigrant, I think my life is a lot easier as an outsider than many people who come from other places, refugees, what we see now happening across the UK. I'm very aware of my privilege in that sense. So it was much easier. Saying that, my accent now sounds completely different to when I came here. So English is my second language, and my English accent is just sort of softened and adapted. And I think that is a very common strategy for people coming from a different country to soften their otherness. And when I think back now, I realize how much of that I was doing in the early days. When I was working, I remember a guy who I was working with would always take the mick out of my accent, and I would purposefully try to speak more English to be more accepted, to not be like this other person. I think if I could go back, I would probably do it less. I would lean more into my South Africanness. In terms of starting a business, I don't think it has affected me in terms of a challenge. I think there is something about South Africans. I always say I'm a South African, not a South Africant, because we have a sense of making things happen, being quite resilient, I think, as a nation, as people. And I think that stood me in good stead, sort of taking things with quite a grounded outlook and always a sense of humour. Like, we don't take things too seriously, I think. I take my work seriously, but not myself.
And I know you touched there a bit of kind of discrimination when you first moved here. Was there quite a few incidences of that, or was it kind of, few and far between?
I think few and far between. I think we hold on to those negative experiences a lot more, don't we? So, Tom, if you're watching this, you really affected me.
Yeah, Tom.
So yeah, like I really remember those instances where I felt like I had to downplay who I was. But I think they were probably few and far between. And again, I think it's because I could walk into places and not seem like you don't belong here kind of thing. So there's a lot of that privilege, I think, wrapped up in that.
And then looking at being a woman in business, what were the challenges around that, and probably still are with that?
How long have we got?
Hey, not too long, but we've got a bit of time.
I think it's a huge challenge being a woman in business. I think we operate in a patriarchal society, and I think it is very prominent in business, as in all walks of life, to be honest. I think one aspect of it is the mental load that's expected of women. Things like when your kid is ill, it's usually the mum that gets phoned. When there's a birthday party, it's usually, and I don't think this is contained to my family situation, it's the mums that get added to the WhatsApp groups. Like I say, school rings, it's the mum, it's the doctor's appointment. So I think that's a deeper societal issue where mums are expected to do all the things, be all the things. And it's not just mums, it's all women, because across the board, women have more caring responsibilities for other relatives, for children, and in society as well. When I look around Marple and the things I'm involved with, women are the ones who often make things happen.
That's so true.
And I think that adds a layer to the complexities of starting a business. I think on paper, we have the same opportunities, but in reality, things like proper childcare and also the kinds of industries, I guess, that women work in, things like crafts and art and things like that, where I just don't think those industries are properly paid and well rewarded for what they do in society and in the economy. So I think that is a challenge, definitely. The good side of being a woman in business for me is the sense of community that I've experienced. So now when people start a business and they say, what's your advice? Or someone starting a business, I always say, find your people, find those communities. And I'm very lucky to be part of several formal and informal communities where I feel women support each other, lift each other up. No mean girl vibes. It's just wanting to support and encourage and egg other women on. I really believe when women are active in economies and earn money and earn good money, the world is a better place. There are some stats that say women reinvest in various ways their money, it's like 80% of their money back into the societies they're part of. And for men, that number is a lot lower. So I think the world will be a much better place if women were properly paid for the work they do, if people in caregiving roles were properly paid, and given the respect and the admiration for the important role they play. So I'm a big fan of the female contingent in business and in life, definitely.
I love that. Girl power.
Yeah.
So in terms of motherhood and kind of business and life and kind of everything you've just mentioned, how do you balance all of that? Because that's a lot.
Yeah, I don't really believe in balance, but in balancing, because I think we're constantly doing this. I often feel I'm spending too much time at work, and then it's like, oh, over the summer, I've not given my business enough attention. So it's always this state of flux, I think. Something that has helped me is to not follow the rules in many aspects of my life. But when it comes to trying to do it all or trying to balance it all, to not go, oh, I should be doing this thing. I should be doing that thing. But what do I want to do? What works for my family? My kids and my relationship and my family, definitely the top priority in my life. And when you're really clear about why you do certain things, what's your driving force, I think it becomes easier to make those choices. So I definitely don't think I've nailed it, but I think working for myself has allowed me to be more of the mum that I want to be. I can volunteer at my kids' school. I can walk them to school. Well, not the older one, the younger one, bit of a twin. Walk them to school, be there after school. Not every day. Sometimes I do other things. Right now I'm missing my eldest football match. And
Sorry about that.
This is more fun than standing next to the
You're welcome.
But it's about making choices. But I
Yeah.
think if you make that choice from a place of this is what's right and important for me and aligned with my values, aligned with the vision that I have for my life, it becomes much easier rather than, oh, society says I have to do it this way.
Yes. Yeah, it's different for everyone, isn't it? And what advice then would you give to, let's say, a mother wanting to start her own business? I know that's quite broad.
No, well, I will say what I said before, which is find your role models or the people around you who won't just say to you what you want to hear, but will give you really good advice. I've had fantastic mentors over my time in business, and they don't go, yeah, do that thing. Yeah, you're brilliant. Do that thing. It's people who will challenge you in a loving way and for your own good, I guess. So I would say, yeah, find a community around you of people who will support you, as well as good mentors who will challenge you and be honest with you. I think we all need that.
Yeah, definitely. Do you think building a business, kind of moving from South Africa, building your own business, obviously starting with the ethical marketing side of things, do you think that's added an edge to your work that, I mean, if you were, say, born in London, setting up in London, would be completely different?
That's such a good question. Probably. I think so.
It's hard to say, I guess.
It's hard to say. Sliding door situation. I think it does. I think there's too much samey thinking around. And what I have found is that people who have found me and chosen to work with me often describe me as a breath of fresh air because I do bring different thinking. Some of it, I think, definitely comes from my upbringing. I think my whole being quite values driven is important to me, and that is a South African thing. That's a my family thing. And there are more people like me out there, and they choose to work with someone like me. So yeah, I think it does give me an edge. I should own that.
So breaking down a little bit, ethical marketing, obviously you've spoken about it briefly, but someone that's kind of finding your business, be like, what does ethical marketing mean? What do you mean? Not all marketing's ethical, maybe on the surface. Like, could you just break that down for someone that's coming across it for the first time?
Yes. So ethical marketing is unfortunately many things, like ethics and personal ethics and integrity. It can be quite a personal thing. The thinking with the ethical move was what we wanted to do as a team was put in place a standard, a bit like fair trade or organic, to put a label on it and say, if you do these things or if you don't do these things, then you are doing marketing in a way that's ethical. For me, it is at the moment much more grey. I'm no longer involved with the ethical move, not for any bad reason, just because I got too busy. But the more time I had away from it, the more I realised that it is a bit of a grey area, and it is up to the interpretation of the business owner. For me, it's about acting with integrity. It's about putting the person before the sale. So rather than what capitalist organizations think about always trying to get people to buy more, use more, make more profit, squeeze the supply chain, it's the opposite of that. It's about being conscious about how you do your marketing. It's about knowing that there are ways in which you can psychologically manipulate people, and we've all been psychologically manipulated into buying things. So for me, ethical marketing is about communicating honestly and transparently, so the person that's buying from you has all the information available to them. They have proper choice. They're not put under pressure with like a ticking thing that says buy this now or lose out forever. And you're honest about what you're selling, how it can help them, and making sure that person has all the information available to them to make a conscious choice. There's not enough of this in the world, and I think it's not surprising because what I was taught at university about marketing was the kind of standard mainstream things. Make a button this color and people will be more likely to buy it. All of these like tricky things, and we just all went, that makes sense, and that's what we should do. So what I want to see more of is conversations like this where people just sort of go, oh, there's a different way of doing it. And where the responsibility isn't on the consumer to go, oh, now I have to read all the label and Google the company to see if they do horrible things before I can make a choice. I think that information needs to be out there, and there should be less of a responsibility on the buyer and more of a responsibility on the seller to sell in a way that's ethical. And what I found is that small businesses want to sell in this way. No small business that I've ever met is only interested in profit, and will go to any lengths to just sell.
Yeah.
People want to sell in a way that feels aligned with their values.
Yeah.
And what I see is that when people sell to someone in an aligned way, and that person makes an informed, conscious decision to buy, there's a relationship. They go and they recommend the product or the service, or they come back for more, and the end result is more profit. So profit and financial success is a byproduct of marketing in a way that feels responsible, ethical, honest, transparent.
I love that. Have you got any, I mean, you probably can't mention specific people or businesses, but have you got any kind of success stories locally that you could mention, or people you work with, or vaguely, if you can't mention who it is?
I'm happy to mention people, but now I'm thinking, who will I leave out? So I mean, I shouldn't mention any, because then I'll feel guilty about who I lose out. I think we are very lucky in Marple with wonderful businesses who really care about the community. Most of them, there are lots who are really involved in their community, who sponsor the PTA raffle and who put on community events and who bring a good vibe to the village centre. And not just the actual bricks and mortar shops, but loads of people who sit and do things, amazing things. I'm going to mention one.
Go for it.
There is in Marple, it was before COVID, I had a session with an Instagram coach. She's no longer an Instagram coach. On Skype back in the day. I know, blast from the past. And we realised she lives in Hazel Grove and I live in Marple. And we realised that there weren't many networking opportunities. We were going into Manchester for networking. So we said, let's have a networking thing in Marple. So that's when Chartcard was still there. And we had it at Chartcard. And we had something like 40 small businesses come to this event, including people like Sarah Starling, who is a voice actress.
Yes, I know Sarah.
And Sarah works with global brands. Like, she is a fantastic experience. Voice actress and a client, and she's sitting in her little booth in a little soundproof studio in Marple doing world-class work. And for me, that experience of being around 40 other people living in the local area, just doing their thing and doing amazing work, was so inspiring. And for me, that was a real catalyst of understanding local businesses, getting to know them. And I'm still in touch with loads of them. Another one of them is, I don't know if you know Helen Roscoe. So she has yoga in Marple, and with her husband David, they have Clanberis retreats in North Wales. A fantastic retreat space, and they have actually a retreat in Mella as well coming up later this year. But they do amazing work all over the world. So we have all of these wonderful little businesses under our noses doing amazing work, and every single one of them do marketing in a way that's ethical. They want to just serve people. They want to do the best work properly possible. And my challenge as someone who helps them with marketing is to make sure the world knows about it. I think when it comes to ethical marketing, lots of the good values-driven businesses go, does that mean I can't do marketing? That's not at all the case. It's about doing it in a way that puts the person before the sale. And in my experiences, people like Sarah, Helen, Dave, loads of other people, that is just aligned. So for them to know there is a different way of doing marketing. When you Google how to do marketing as a small business, you will get awful advice. You will. And that's because that's just the one way of thinking. So I think we need more conversations that show people a different way is possible.
I agree. And I think I found that when you were saying about the networking and meeting people that you wouldn't necessarily know were set up in Marple or small businesses or whatever it is, I found that with the podcast, people reach out to me that want to be on it. I didn't know they were kind of associated with Marple, or I don't know, there's businesses that are maybe just online that are based in Marple, and amazing people and stories that I'm talking to. And I'm like, people need to know about this. But I think also a podcast, it's not obviously it is a form of marketing, but I want people to come on and kind of show off who they are behind the business as well, because then people can get to know them. If someone wants to work with you, but they've maybe never met you, they could watch the podcast and get to know you a bit more and know kind of what they're buying into. I think that's so important, because often we see a business, but what who is the person behind the business? We don't know. So I think we've got something quite special in Marple and probably other, you know, local. What are we now? A town. I say village, but we're a town.
Still
we're
got
actually
village
quite big,
vibe.
actually. I know I say village and I'm like, it's not even village. But I think it's so important. But stuff like that is great, like networking, which I didn't know about. You know, it's learning off each other and finding out the positive ways you can market kind of your business and yourself. I think that's so important.
And I think small businesses have the edge over large businesses that are just a logo or a name we know. And it's something, again, that I think small businesses Google how to do marketing. And it's a bit like be professional. And it's almost toxic professionalism where they don't show anything about who they are as a human. But as humans, we buy from humans. I definitely love to go into the stationery shop in Marple because there's always a warm welcome. There's millions of things to choose from. I always leave with arms full of things. But I don't think I would have had that emotional connection to it if I hadn't known Sarah. And if Sarah didn't share so much about her absolute passion for stationery. And it goes the same with service providers. Like if you're going to work with, and that's why I'm quite open about who I am and the kind of marketing I will and will not do, because I don't want to confuse people who come to me and say, oh, well, you do all these tricky things and dodgy things. I can do it. I've done it in my career and chosen not to do it anymore. I want people with whom I'll have a lovely time because we have a finite time to work and to be on earth. And I want to spend it with lovely people. So in marketing, if we show that little bit about us, the other one who does it really well is Barclay and Fetch. Jane from Barclay and Fetch, who shows her love for wonderful British made, you know, dog and cat things and her love for dogs and cats. And they have a brilliant time on the socials. Jane is a client, but I have nothing to do with that. That's all hers. But showing that little bit, then it doesn't become just, oh, where will I buy a lead for my dog? The cheapest place possible or Amazon. It becomes, I want to go there because I like her. I enjoy the vibe and I want to support local. Yeah,
so true. So people that want to work with you, they might be watching or listening and like, she sounds great. Love the idea.
Or not.
Or not, but stop listening now. Love the idea of ethical marketing. How do they get involved? What's the process? Promote yourself a little bit.
Okay. Well, my business is called Goodness Marketing. So if you Google that, I should come up. And I help people in 4 ways. So it's called Done in Community, Done with Me, Done for You, and Impact Partnerships. So Done in Community is all about my membership called the Do Crew. So this is where I have about 60 odd people in this membership, and we come together twice a week on Zoom to actually get the marketing done. So this is perfect for people who spend a lot of time planning things in their notebook or thinking, oh, that would be a good idea for a podcast or a reel or whatever, and never actually doing the thing. So I give them bite-sized learning. We have a mini private podcast where I basically send them little voice notes and say, Instagram's done this now, so you should be doing this, which I love. And there's all sorts of people in there, product businesses, service businesses. And then I help people with their strategy. So that's where people go, I have no idea, or I have an idea and it's not working for me. And we work out the best way for them to approach their marketing. And I very much look at what I call the marketing ecosystem. Lots of people go, marketing, oh, that means social media. It's not the case. Social media is not the best channel for everyone. It's a very difficult channel. So we look at all the options available to people and work out what works for them and for their business and for their energy so that it's sustainable. And then I do actual marketing for people, so I can help them write their newsletters, their blogs. I work with a wonderful team of freelancers, including Nicola from the VA Hub in Marple Bridge, who helps me deliver a lot of this work. And then Impact Partnerships is where I work with larger organizations. One of my clients is a national charity. I have a national therapy network, shout out to you, now you're talking, who provide therapy and are a profit for purpose organization. So 66% of their profits get reinvested into charity to help people who can't access mental health services. So that's where I work with larger organizations who have a big impact in the world. And it's really rewarding work. So all sorts of ways. But come to goodnessmarketing.co.uk and I will tell people all about it.
Amazing. That sounds brilliant. If someone's feeling uninspired right now, what advice would you give them?
Go for a walk.
Oh, love
Do
it.
you know, this
Simple.
and in Marple, we are so lucky
We
with
are.
all the wonderful places you can walk. I feel like there are very few problems that can't be improved a little bit without like going into nature and being in nature and going for a walk. Ideally with a dog. I walk with Betsy, the marketing assistant, at least twice a day. And I find that I always come back to my desk with more energy, more ideas, and just feeling a little bit more positive about the world. If you're feeling uninspired, go for a walk.
I love that. That's so true. If someone, now this is the classic Marple Journal question, if someone found your journal, what would you want them to read in it?
Do what I did when I was a teenager and my brother found my journal and I threw it in the barbecue fire.
I was going to say burn it.
Yeah, 100%. No, I would say if you want to take something inspiring away from it, be an enthusiast, because I feel it has taken me until my mid-40s to really lean into being enthusiastic about what I'm enthusiastic about, and my life is all the better for it. To not really care so much if other people also find it interesting. What I have found is when I lean into the things I'm enthusiastic about, the other enthusiasts find me. It's a bit like flying your little freak flag so the other freaks know how to find you. So if you're into Dolly Parton like I am, or true crime podcasts, or, you know, just getting excited about going for a walk, lean into that. I think the world will be a better place if people became more enthusiastic about the things they care about. I think it's a very British thing to be a little bit cool and aloof and not get too excited. I don't go in for that.
We love a bit of hyperness. I'm like that. I feel like I'm very hyper, and then sometimes I catch myself being a bit reserved or a bit like, oh, I need to downplay how I feel. Why?
I know. I think it's society, and I think it is worse for women. Being told to be not so loud, not draw so much attention to yourself.
Dramatic. Yeah.
I think my life is better when I am who I am, and I've attracted people towards me, clients, friends, all of that, who share the vibe, who match the vibe. And ultimately, at the end of your life, you're not going to wish that you had been calmer or, you know, enjoyed things less. You're going to want to have done that more.
Yeah. Be more silly. Yeah. Everyone should be more silly, okay? That's my last point. Thank you so much for joining us today. Chat. It's been such a good chat. I feel inspired. And I've not even been on a walk, so maybe I'll go on a walk afterwards. Thank you so much. I think anyone listening or watching, share with loved ones, share with people you know that might find Karen's, you know, story inspirational. So much to listen to, and I think it's really great because I know you already, but we've never sat down and kind of talked about your life, and I think it's really interesting. I think people that are either working with you or want to work with you, it gives them a bit of an insight into who you are as a person, and keep being amazing. You're just great. Thanks. And also, do you know what? She got me a gift as well. Look at this. First guest to bring me a gift, kind of just say, you know, in my good books. I could have
been shy about it and gone, oh, this is a bit too much, but
no, I loved it. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. If you enjoyed this episode and want to hear more, you can listen to more or watch more episodes on Spotify. Make sure you follow, rate and save those episodes, please, and click that notification bell to be notified when the next ones come out. On YouTube, like and subscribe and comment if you enjoyed the episode. And on socials, if you want to follow us, it's the Marple Journal Podcast on Instagram, it's the Marple Journal on Facebook. And to get involved or to be a guest, you can DM me there, or you can email me, themarplejournal@outlook.com. I'll see you here again for our next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye bye now.